We're making arepas, which look like really thick tacos. So we're making an arepa tonight with ground beef. You can literally put anything you want in yours. Kaylin, what do we like to do with our ingredients before we start cooking and putting everything together?
We like to do we measure them out before we start cooking with it, because if we make a mistake, we can easily fix it.
That's why I have lots of little cups. I always measure out my ingredients in separate cups. That way, after I get everything measured, I can go back and look at it and say, oh gosh, I forgot the pepper or whatever. But it's all right here in front of me. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start measuring our ingredients. Let's start with our ingredients for the arepa dough. What do we need to measure out first, Kamani?
You need 2 cups of arepa flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3 cups of hot water.
Let's measure out 2 cups of our arepa flour and put it in a large bowl. All right, so the next thing we do, and this is very important. I'm going to measure out my salt and hot water, but I'm not going to put it in with my arepa flour yet. I'm going to keep everything in separate containers. That's why we add hot water to the arepa flour. So it's almost the opposite. When we made corn tortillas, we added cold flour. It was for the same reason. It's to keep the dough from being lumpy. And I think it calls for 3 cups of hot water. So go ahead and add your salt, but don't add the water yet, because we have to make sure we mix our salt in really well. Otherwise, you'll get a lot of salt in one bite and no salt in another bite. Once your salt is mixed in, go ahead and add your hot water. Make sure the water's hot. Start with 2 cups. Otherwise, you'll be splashing around like a duck. Sometimes you won't need all 3 cups. What you want is a moist dough that holds together well. So start with 2 cups. Then you can always add more water. Mine looks really moist, so I'm going to keep it the way it is.
It does look like mashed potatoes.
It looks like mashed potatoes, but smells a little bit like a corn tortilla. Kaylin, would you like to read number 3 under the arepa dough instruction?
Cover it with plastic wrap and let stand for 5 minutes, and then knead about for 3 minutes until smooth. If the dough is too dry, wet your hands hands continue kneading and wetting your hands until the dough is soft.
All right, so you've got your 2 cups of water in with your 2 cups of arepa flour. It should look like really thick mashed potatoes. And we're going to get a piece of plastic now. This will keep the dough from drying out. All right, now we're going to measure out the ingredients for our meat filling. So we've got 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, and I use a clear oil for frying. And then we can either have annatto or paprika. Malia, did you give them all paprika?
I did.
We need 1 teaspoon of the paprika. We need 1 medium oven onion. Give me a thumbs up if you've already chopped your onion. I'm going to put my onion in a little bowl. So the next thing, we have a green bell pepper. Did you chop up all your peppers? All right. So the next thing on our list, we have 1 clove of garlic minced. All right, so we have 2 large tomatoes. Give me a thumbs up if you've already diced your tomatoes. Oh, good, so we've got that done. Okay, we only have a few spices left, and then we can start. We've got our olives too. So let's finish measuring out our spices. We have a 1/2 teaspoon of cumin.
Okay, what's the next one?
1/4 teaspoon of thyme.
Do we put the spices in the same bowl?
Well, you can if you run out of bowls. Whenever I teach children to measure, I tell them to put them in separate bowls, just because it's a good habit to get into. So now we have a teaspoon of what? What's next?
Salt.
Teaspoon of salt. Now I think at the beginning of the rest of the instructions, it also tells us to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. So if you haven't yet done that, turn on your oven to 350 degrees. All right, we got a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. We've got a pound of our ground meat, and this is optional. Not everybody likes olives, but if you have olives, go ahead and chop up your olives. And then 1 tablespoon capers. This is also optional. Now, before we start cooking our beef, we're going to make our arepas. So set these ingredients aside. It should be a really thick dough now. You're going to make a mound of arepa dough. and you're going to play patty cake, and you're going to form it into a circle, and you're going to flatten it. The recipe says a 3/4 of an inch thick, but I wouldn't worry about it because in Venezuela and Colombia, depending on what country you're from, some people like thinner arepas and some people like thicker arepas. So there's no right or wrong way to do this. Create little circles, and then I'm going to put them on a piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to cover them with plastic wrap so they don't dry out. They should be about 3 inches wide and maybe a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch thick. Remember, when you put them on the parchment paper like this, cover them in plastic so they stay moist.
Is it okay that my grandpa helps me?
No, that's great. Hi, Grandpa.
Excuse me, how big are they supposed to be? I have mine like this big.
That looks good. So typically they're about 3 inches wide and they're about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch thick.
What do we do when we're done with the dough?
So we're going to go on to the next step. We're going to fry our arepas before we make our ground beef filling. We're going to fry them on both sides until they're golden brown, and then we're going to put them in the oven. I have a big griddle. I'm not sure how you're going to fry your arepas, either in a cast iron skillet or on a griddle. Take the plastic off.
How much oil do you pour in the pan?
You're not going to put an oil, just a little bit. You don't need much. If you want, you can use a non-stick skillet, just a tiny bit. And then almost like you're making pancakes, you're going to slip the arepas off. Don't crowd your skillet. So depending on how large your skillet is, you'll just do a few at a time. So we're going to fry them until they're a little bit brown on the bottom. They don't need to be fully cooked. They just need to be brown because we're going to finish cooking them in the oven. It's about 2 minutes per side.
We only have 4 of them in there.
Oh, how big? That's okay. So what you'll do is you'll do 4 at a time. And then when they're brown, you're going to put them back on the parchment paper and you're going to put the whole baking sheet in the oven for about 15 minutes.
They look good.
They're so much fun because it's fun to stuff them.
Do they have to be dark brown?
No, they can be golden brown. And what you can do is as you finish some of your arepas, your mom and dad can help you and you can put them in the oven while we start our ground beef. Now, while mom or dad are frying the arepas, I'm going to start by adding some oil to my skillet. I've got all of my ingredients in front of me, and I'm going to turn on my skillet, add the oil and the onions to your cold pan.
Chef, what do you have to put in the pan with the oil?
I'm going to start by putting the onion, and now once you start to hear it sizzle, add your green pepper.
Do you have the meat in the pan yet?
Not yet. I'm going to just start browning the onions first. As your arepas finish up, put them on the baking sheet and put them in the oven. The reason I haven't added the meat yet is because and this may not be in the recipe, it's just a good trick. I like to add my spices in the oil first for about 1 minute.
Do we put it in now?
After you put your onions and your peppers in and you hear the sizzle, add your spices.
Put the peppers in yet.
Add your paprika and your thyme and your cumin.
Okay, thank you.
For 30 seconds and then add your meat. I'm going to add my meat now.
Wait, do you put the tomatoes in yet?
Not yet. We're going to cook our meat first.
Can we put the tortillas in the oven?
Yeah, put your arepas in the oven. Once you put your arepas in the oven, tell me and I will set the timer for 15 minutes.
I put in the arepas.
Yeah, once you fry your arepas, put them on your sheet pan and put them in the oven for 15 minutes. Once your meat's no longer pink, add your garlic and stir for 1 or 2 minutes, and then add your tomatoes, but only after you add your garlic. Once you add your tomatoes, add your olives and capers if you're using them, and raise your heat to medium high. You want a hot skillet so that the juice is reduced in the pan. You don't want soggy meat or it'll make your arepas soggy.
Chef Tracy,
Yeah,
do we use all of our tomatoes? Because we have a lot.
all of your tomatoes? Yeah. You can. You're just going to have to turn the heat on high and cook it longer if there's a
Okay.
lot of juice.
Excuse me, should we add in our olives while we're cooking our meat?
After you add your tomatoes, add your olives and your capers if you like them.
Jeff, Tracy, to add our tomatoes.
Did you add your tomatoes?
No, do we have to?
Oh, if you do not like tomatoes, no, you don't have to add tomatoes. Do you like tomato sauce?
Yes, but I don't like actual tomatoes.
My son hates tomatoes. And so when he was a child, I used to add tomato sauce or ketchup. What else was good? Tomato paste with water and hot sauce. Mine is almost done. Most of the liquid is gone. I think you can see my skillet. All of the liquid is gone. So Diamond, is your meat done?
Oh, yeah, just finishing up.
Yeah, it's just finishing up now.
As soon as my buzzer goes off, I'm going to show you how to stuff an arepa.
So what should we do when our meat is done?
So when your meat's done, I would take it, you want it to stay warm, but not too hot because you're going to be stuffing your arepa and it might burn your hand. So I put mine in a bowl to cool off. It just makes it easier. I'm going to grab my arepas out of the oven.
It smells like chili.
To me, it smells like sweet.
It smells like really, 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 really good. I didn't want to add the olives or...
So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take one that's not so hot and show you how to stuff it. So you want to hold it like this. I always put it flat. You would like to work on a flat surface. Right in the middle, just like you would an English muffin, you're going to slice it sideways, not all the way through, just like that. So it's like a little mouth that opens up. And then I'm going to take a spoon. I'm just going to fill it like you would a Hot Pocket. And you have your first arepa.
So it's for ours. It doesn't seem done. How is it supposed to look when we cut it? Or how is it supposed to feel?
Depending on how thick your arepa is. That's why a lot of people like thinner ones because they don't have to stay in the oven as long. A thicker one might have to stay in 20 to 30 minutes. So when you take your arepas out, they're going to be too hot to handle. So let them cool down because they continue to cook while they're hot. If you slice them open too soon, they're going to be undercooked. If you have a thin arepa, keep it in for 15 minutes. If you have a thick arepa, keep it in for 30. Take it out, let it cool for about 10 minutes, and then you're going to slice it open. The inside's going to look a little gooey. Also, if you want to put cheese on there, I only have guacamole, sour cream, salsa. You can put cheese on it. I put the timer on for some of you, and you have 30 seconds left. Oh, that looks beautiful. So Kamani, junior chefs, do you want to share with everybody what you had for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, we had like a whole bunch of things. We had macaroni, usual turkey, stuffing, collard greens, sweet potato pie, pumpkin pie. I think it's ham too. And a few other things.
What was your favorite?
The macaroni.
What was your brother's favorite?
Probably the macaroni too.
Eden, what did you have for Thanksgiving?
My sibling has a boyfriend that's vegan. We had to make mostly vegan stuff.
So we had turkey. You know, you have your standards. You have your turkey. We had turkey stuffing and the gravy from the drippings, and then crescent rolls. A whole bunch of other stuff, but everything else was, you could make it vegan. So we had vegan mashed potatoes, vegan stuffing, we made vegan gravy,
Vegan pitted fruits.
pitted fruit.
Diamond, what was your favorite thing for Thanksgiving?
The turkey, sweet potato pie, apple pie.
Alana, are you raising your hand?
Me and my sister made Thanksgiving dinner, and my mom taught us how to, like, what we needed to buy. We went grocery shopping with her, and we learned like how to cook her Thanksgiving dinner recipe and everything. And my favorite was probably the mashed potatoes because they were really creamy, which I liked about them. And then we cooked like an apple cobbler cheesecake, mashed potatoes, stuffing, turkey. It was a lot of work.
We had a bunch of stuff like stuffed shells, mashed potatoes, the turkey, and a bunch of desserts and stuffing. But my favorite thing was definitely my Nana's homemade stuffed shells and meatballs, and of course the turkey.
You guys are amazing. Yes, Grace.
I honestly had like the best Thanksgiving. We stayed home, stayed in our PJs. I had a whole leg of turkey and didn't eat anything else after that. The next morning for breakfast, I ate half the pumpkin pie. I ate a lot of pie because that's my favorite part. I probably finished a whipped cream bottle because I like whipped cream. We had a sweet potato and marshmallows, which is my favorite. And then we watched Christmas movies. So
That's wonderful.
and the Macy's Day Parade.
Grace, you're my new favorite Thanksgiving hero because you ate a half a pie for breakfast. I love that. That's every kid's dream.
So ladies, thank you so much for logging on for our Zoom Arepa class. Kaylin, do you remember what we say at the end of every class? What are the 4 principles?
Be clean, be precise, be safe, and most importantly, have fun.
It was really nice to meet all of you brownies, and it was great to see the junior chefs again. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Don't forget to send me a photo.